Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio. Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, we are back this week after a few weeks off. I apologise to everybody who was off for a few weeks. We've been very busy, haven't we, Dan? We've been flat out, haven't we, with all sorts of stuff happening in the world.
We have, yeah. I think the season's starting as well. We've been super busy, so. But it's good to be back, isn't it? It's good to be back recording again.
Yes, it is good to be back. And before we move on, what's coming up in today's show? I better mention social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube, Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago? I can't actually remember. It's been too long. Whatever it is, we are back. Do not worry. Your football coverage begins here. And well, what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to talk about Ipswich Town. Yes, Ipswich Town have been busy. They've been playing games. They've been making signings before the transfer window shut on the 31st of August. And we'll be talking about the Premier League game week 3, where we've seen quite a lot of dramatic matches. One team in absolutely trouble. 2 title contenders clash. And only one team now has a 100% winning start. And if I told you which the team was, you wouldn't believe me who has the winning start so far. And maybe possibly a football roundup if we get enough time for it. If VAR lets us have it, because VAR has now been used properly, so we probably won't have enough time because it's been used properly. You know what it's like. But when we come back, we'll be talking about Ipswich Town, what's been going on in the last few games, and what's been happening in this transfer window. So don't go anywhere. Stay up to date with the latest footy news. Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan. As always, now before we move on talking about Ipswich Town this week, I better mention the social media. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, do not worry. They're all up there. From 2 weeks ago, we haven't done a show in a long time because me and Dan have been incredibly busy. Sorry for that, but life is busy. It's how life is, unfortunately, at the moment. Everything is super busy. But one team that has been very, very, very busy, it's Ipswich Town over the last few weeks. As we have been off, we've missed plenty of Ipswich Town action. But don't worry, the Blues are still searching for their first win. So we're not the bad luck charm here. So you can't blame us. You can't blame Dan and his predictions for not ensuring Ipswich Town will win. So it's not us that are the problem, but Dan's not very impressed by that. I can see his facial expressions. He's not happy at all. The Town, they are still searching for their first win of the season after a very tricky start, which Paul Cook's New Look Town side sees 16 players join the club so far over the transfer window. Maybe a few more will have. Maybe I'll just absolutely tease something, I'll ruin something. If you've been living on the rock, if you have, where have you been? Because you've missed this Town play 4 games, losing 2 of them on the bounce to Burton and Cheltenham. Back to back away games. That's a hard thing to say. Back to back away games, and then drawing one at home to MK Dons, which saw some fans lose their patience and boo, which was a really weird thing because lots of them didn't, then some booed, and everyone's a bit like, "What?" That's very confusing. But Dan, Town had the chance to end this tricky start before the international break. Get a win on the board with a home game versus AFC Wimbledon. But once again, they were pegged back to a single point after racing into the lead 2-0, 2 goals inside 2 minutes in the 60th minute. Absolutely crazy. It was like, oh my God, Town are going to do it. But then it just slipped away from them in the dying seconds of the game. 6 additional minutes, 95th minute. 2-2 Wimbledon. But Dan, Town, so agonizingly close again. But the costly mistakes have been haunted them this whole season so far. Just crept up on them again and scared them into a draw.
Yeah, it's just these mistakes, isn't it? It's excruciating because we're so desperate for a win, aren't we? I think the home crowd was so desperate for it, but I think when Wimbledon scored their first goal, it just looked inevitable for me. We weren't in the game. Um, I think the game in general wasn't a great game, really. I don't think the performance was really up to scratch. I think I'd say it's the worst out of the 3 home games I've seen so far. So that was disappointing in itself. But going 2-0 up, it was happy days, wasn't it? We don't care how we play. If we win games, we'll take it. So it was, happy days when Burns scored that. But yeah, it's defensive mistakes and silly mistakes and that cost us again. Set pieces are a huge problem. I think at both ends, really. We can't defend them or can't do them. Every corner we put in, it's cleared away by the first man. But yeah, it's just so frustrating because we know that there's a team there and we know that we can perform. But it's just not clicking yet, which I think fans in general thought that we'd see that a lot quicker than we are. And I think that's where the frustration comes from. We still need to trust the process. It's early on in the season still, but we just need to cut out these silly defensive mistakes, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, we need to remember it's only 5 games, and fans are already lost their minds. So much so you can see it on Twitter, really.
Yeah.
When I put a post out, I saw it straight away, which was great. Thank you very much for your horrible comments and lovely comments. They won't win, but
Twitter,
absolutely brilliant. But Paul Cook, after the game, he said to the media, "We are still in pre-season mode." Also saying his squad is lacking fitness. Some players, he's having to take some players off due to fitness concerns and fitness reasons, not for tactical purposes, which is frustrating him because he wants to change the game for tactical reasons. But he's strong to that because the players are lacking fitness. But he thanked the support once again, but did mention about the fans' frustrations, which is something we've not seen a manager do for a long time, sort of confront the frustrations. He understands them, but he says that people think that the season's over after 5 games, done and dusted. There's no such thing in football. Dan, Paul Cook, just saying it how it is most of the time, but people seem to sort of forget that this is a new side. This is a new beginning, a new era, but that new era thing didn't work under Paul Hurst. But this is a new beginning for Town. This is a new side. There's 23 players have gone out, 16 have come in. He's got to get them all to gel on that, but they still find their feet. But every club takes a little bit more time to sort of find their feet and to get success. I know some clubs do it faster than others, but Town are doing it a little bit slower than others. But is the frustration justified? Can we say it's justified? Because it's been they've raced into the lead 2-0 and they just let it slip away again. And it's a common theme. We're seeing a common theme here.
We are, yeah. And no disrespect to Wimbledon, but we shouldn't be conceding 2 like that, should we? Being 2-0 up, it's something that you shouldn't be doing in any league, really. But I think the frustrations are justified in a way because we were all I guess we weren't expecting an amazing start. We've had that before, and we all know that it didn't go well. But I think we were all expecting at least a win out of our first 5 league games. So I understand where the frustrations are coming from. What I don't understand is booing the fans and questioning the manager already after 5 games. You don't get instant success in football. It just doesn't work like that, does it? It's been such a drastic change over the summer. It's going to take time. The amount of players we've replaced and the way the team looks now, the quality of players we have is 100 times better than what we had last year, in my opinion. But new players coming in and they haven't played together at all, really. They didn't really have a pre-season, did they? Had a few games. It wasn't as much of a pre-season as Paul Cook wanted. I think that was one of the things he said. So they haven't really had that much time. There's been signings come in after pre-season as well. So, I just pray that fans, give this team time, because I still have faith and I still believe that we'll be in and around the top six come May, because I don't think there's really any excuse to not be with the quality of players we have. So yeah, I just think we really need to be patient, because it's still early days.
It's still early days, but how much more? I know it's going to sound bad, but how much more faith can fans give before? Not saying enough is enough, but before we sort of kind of go, this needs to be happening. We need to now sort of see. We now need to see results, because we have to remember football is a results business. You don't get anywhere without wins and all that sort of stuff. You need to start seeing some sort of forward momentum or even success, because it feels at the moment the Town are taking one step forward, but somehow managed to go two steps back in each game. It's a weird sort of process.
Yeah, it is a strange process, and it's been a really strange start to the season. And I understand that wins are what we need, and I understand if fans are frustrated at that. I think the owners, they're not going to give Paul Cook much time. I think they want success as quick as they can. So if this run continues, I think I'd give Paul Cook until October, maybe the end of October. If we're not winning games by then, I think that's when we have to question him. But now it's still way too early for me to decide. I think we need to just support the team, as Mark Ashton has said, as Paul Cook has said. We all need to be in it together, don't we, to get success at this club? And we all want Paul Cook to succeed. We all want Mark Ashton to succeed. We all want the players to succeed. But we're not going to get instant success. So yeah, I get it that fans want wins, and I want to win. Of course I do. And I'm frustrated that we haven't had the start that everyone wanted. But I think the quality we have in our side, I think actually this break now that Wycombe game's been postponed is going to be good for us as well. So we can come into that Bolton game at home, everyone fresh and ready to go. And yeah, let's just give it some time and see how it goes. And if it doesn't go to plan, then things can change quickly, because I don't think the owners are gonna wait around.
Yeah, sometimes things change in football a little bit too quickly, but hopefully things will turn around. But back to the game, sort of the biggest talking points really from the game were about game management and those set pieces, which you have alluded to, Dan, earlier on. But it seems like those are Town's two biggest enemies at the moment. It feels like those two goals are just, shouldn't be conceded. And when Town went 2-0, the mindset of the players should have really changed to sort of seeing out the game instead of trying to attack. But it just doesn't seem to be the case at the moment. Is that down to this so-called pre-season mode that Paul Cook sort of put the players in at the moment? Or is it just down to a lack of understanding because it's a new squad? Players don't know each other just yet. But this problem here needs to be sorted out quickly, because it's been the main problem for the first 5 games. It's the game management and defending set pieces, and actually not falling asleep on set pieces, because Town just keep getting constantly caught out by them, which is causing a lot of problems and the frustration towards the fans as well.
It is, yeah. Set pieces is a major thing in League One, and if you can't defend them, then you're not going to get anywhere. So it's something that needs to be sorted out. In the Wimbledon game, I think it was the centre back that scored their first goal. I don't remember the name, but every single corner, every single set piece, he'd run towards the back post, and he did that again for their second goal. That's where it came from. He headed it towards goal, and I thought, you think he's been doing that all game. Surely we would have learned by the end of the game, that he was going to do that. I don't know who was on him and who was marking him. I'm not gonna blame, say names or anything, because I don't know. But it just needs to be better. It needs to be sorted out, because that's what's going to cost us in the long run. Because obviously going forward, we're absolutely fine. We've got unlimited options going forward, haven't we? It's quite unbelievable how many options we have. I think fans maybe wanted a few more defensive signings. But yeah, it's something we need to look into, and of course game management as well. I think after 60 minutes in every game I've seen so far, we've kind of dropped off and looked tired. I think the Wimbledon game was the biggest one. We just looked so shattered after 60 minutes, which is quite worrying for me, because Paul Cook said that was the one thing that was going to be sorted before the season started. If they're still in pre-season mode, then maybe that's the problem. But I'm sure that's what I think that's one of the things they're focusing on, the fitness of the players. So hopefully it won't be too long till that's sorted out. But I think that's a bit of a worry. So yeah, there's a lot of improvements. There's a lot of good things happening, a lot of bad things happening as well. And I think Paul Cook knows that he needs to look at the things that aren't quite going right and really focus on them in the training ground and see what can be done on the pitch, because we can't keep, we need to win, because the gap is getting more and more. No matter how we look at it, the gap to the top is going to get more and more if we can't win games.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I'm going to look to see what the gap is. I actually don't know the gap. This is going to be a live reaction. Oh my gosh, didn't realize that's 12 points to the top. But things can change quickly in football. We must remember, one win can see Town fly up a bunch of places, and another win can see Town fly up even more places. So it's not over until the fat lady sings, or
yep.
I've got it. Yes, finally, I got one of the things right for once. Finally, it's taken me a few years, and I got there in a few tries, but we got there in the end. Well, that was the game that happened on Saturday, and then Town entered. Well, I don't know what they entered. They entered sort of a transfer crazy mode where they went, we need to improve in these positions after the first 5 games. So let's just go and sign some more players. And they made signings for number 17, number 18, and number 19. But we're going to start with number 17. Town, usually they have a quiet end to the transfer window. Usually nothing happens. And we must remember a very famous statement that Paul Lambert put out on in 2020, January, transfer deadline day. Nothing's happening. Shame. But this time something did happen, and number 17 came through the door. And first up was Christopher Walt. Walt, if I've said it right.
Christian Walton.
Walton. Oh, God, it's been a long. Do you know what? It's been a long time, Dan, since I have to do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
But he joined on a season-long loan from Brighton, and Key Eye fans will remember Christian from his days with Paul Cook at Wigan, where he won infamously back to the Championship. They won a promotion back to the Championship in that year, where Paul Cook did make a lot of signings at Wigan. I think 22 to be precise, and also had a very good season after that as Wigan stayed up in the Championship. Dan, this looks like a very logical signing here from Paul Cook. He's worked Christian before in the past. He's also entering the final year of his contract with Brighton. So maybe he could be possibly on the cards. He's played a lot in the Championship. He had that spell previously with Blackburn where he kept 12 clean sheets in 46 games. And also with Halanki struggling at the moment, we're sort of seeing a few mistakes from him. He don't look very settled himself, really sort of struggling at the moment in the Town, in Town sort of goalkeeper jersey. Could this maybe be the player to help him out in the future, or to be the new number 1 at the club, which is needed, possibly?
Yeah, maybe it is needed. I think this is as you said, it's a logical signing, and yeah, I think after the first 5 games, it's clear that Halanki has had a tough start and he's made a few mistakes, hasn't he? And I think Paul Cook has looked at that and thought we should get Christian in, because I think he was a target of Paul Cook's quite early on, and I think I saw his name linked with us quite early on during the summer. So I think maybe it was the plan all along to see how Halanki does in goal for the first few games, and if it doesn't go to plan, then get Christian Walton in, who, as you said, has worked with Paul Cook before. So that can only be a good thing. Obviously, don't know much about him. Don't know his playing style, I guess, whether he's a commanding goalkeeper or a shot stopper or whatever. But for the past or since Bart left, it's kind of been a curse, that goalkeeper spot, really. Holy isn't the most convincing. Will Norris didn't have a good time. Neither did Cornell. So far Halaki hasn't either. So hopefully Walton can come in and settle the nerves, I guess, in the goalkeeper spot.
Hopefully he can. I like how you list all those goalkeepers off there that have struggled in the town shirt quite recently. I forgot about Cornell, actually. Cornell.
Yeah.
Gosh. I wonder where he is now. But not long after Walton joined, number 18 was fast approaching. And somebody who had a previous spell at the club, which saw the fans fall in love with him. He's been linked with the club for months and months now. Funny enough, we actually talked about him on the show, I think, a few weeks ago. I don't think you were here, Dan, actually. I think it's one of the weeks you were suspended. I think me and Piers, we talked about this player joining back. A bit of a pipe dream at the time being because of where he was and other clubs were looking at him. But do not worry, he has joined on a season-long loan, and that is Salina. He is back. He is back from his time in France with Dijon, which have gone down to Liga 2 at the moment, but he has played in Liga 1 when he's over there. But he's back on another season-long loan. Dan, months and months and months of speculation. He's here. He's arrived. He's back at Portman Road. He's actually been there. He's got number 43, which I thought was an absolutely weird number. We don't usually see players with number 43 these days, but he's rocking the number 43. Ashton, he's been chasing him all summer. He's got his man, and he described it as his quality in the final third is a given, and it does not need a lot of explaining. Well, in the Town shirt, I think we can be perfectly honest, it doesn't need a lot of explaining. Probably one of his best seasons he's had in his career has been in the Town shirt, but sort of since leaving Town, he had that goodish time with Swansea. He scored some good goals there, but not on a regular basis. Didn't sort of build on what he did at Town. Went to Dijon. Not really good after that, as they got relegated, made 32 appearances, 6 assists. But for him, realistically, and for Town, they'll be hoping that they can reform this relationship he had previous to the club, and he'll be firing so much more in League One this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we hope, isn't it? I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was to see a player like that come back. Well, while we're in League One, don't forget he was, a great player in the Championship. I'd always remember Mick McCarthy reluctant to play him for some reason, and the fans wanted him to come on, and he scored that free kick away at Burton after Mick McCarthy kind of had a go at the fans, and we loved him after that. And yeah, such a good player, and a player that can really make a difference coming off the bench or just attacking in the final third. He's a player that can shoot from anywhere pretty much and get it on target. And yeah, it's just so exciting to see him here. I think there's no pressure on him, really, is there? He can come here and maybe make sure he's fit in the first few weeks, and just do the best that he can, because I think he's already got that relationship with the fans. So I think the pressure's off him, and hopefully he can come here and perform and do what we all know that he can do. And it's so exciting. We're seeing a lot of fans saying, do we really need him? But it's not whether or not we need him. It's we've got a player of his caliber that have been at the club before while we sit in the relegation zone in League One. I think that's the main thing. To have a player like Salina as an option is a fantastic thing. So yeah, buzzing with that signing, and to see Bursan back is great.
Yeah, it's good to see him back. But that's a bit of a weird comment. No pressure on him. I thought there'd be a little bit of pressure on him to sort of try and succeed because what he's done before, but also as well, this could be, if it goes right, this could be maybe a place where he stays for a little bit longer. We don't know. This might become permanent if Town win promotion back to the Championship, which I know looks a long way off at the moment, but things quickly change in football.
They do, yeah. I think the reason why I said that was no pressure is because he's had a successful loan spell before, hasn't he? And I think no matter how this goes, if he has a fantastic second spell, we'll remember him for this as well. But I think if he doesn't have such a successful one, we'll still remember how good he was back in the Championship in 17-18. So I think obviously there's an expectation there for him, but I think there's not a huge, underlying pressure for him to be absolutely fantastic and change the team.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I see. I see. I thought you were talking about, no pressure to fight for your career. My gosh. I've never seen this before. Well, with only 2 hours left of the window, us Town fans, we all thought it's done and dusted. There's one player rumoured here and there, but it doesn't sound like much is going on with that. But, we were proved wrong as number 19 was on his way. And oh boy, this was a big one. Apparently, he walks like an Egyptian, I hear. So that's what the promotion was, which I thought was actually pretty good by Town. And the Middlesbrough midfielder joined on a 3-year deal. Paul Cook's former captain. Yes, it is Sammy Mose. Oh my God.
Sam Morsey.
Morsey. I knew it's Morsey. I just absolutely had a blank.
It's all right. Don't worry.
God, I apologize. Over these last few weeks, I've still not learned how to pronounce names properly. I still butcher names, but that's just the nature of me, and that's just what adds a little bit more fun to the show. But yes, he has joined the club. Dan, this looks like the final jigsaw is needed. The final piece is here. The holding midfielder we've been looking for and has been needed. We've been looking and needing for this Town. That's been, I think, one of the major areas has been the holding midfield, lacking that, but also as well some leadership experience. He has been the captain under Paul Cook's side at Wigan. So it looks like here he's the perfect player to fit into Town, but also for Ashton as well. He's been working this for a number of weeks, and he's pulled off what we could say an absolute blinder here to get him out of Middlesbrough and to get him back to Town.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This is an absolutely unbelievable signing. To get a player like him, a player who, is important to that Middlesbrough team. I can't really remember where they finished last year, but he was definitely important to their team last season. And you could see that because I don't think Middlesbrough fans could really believe that he was leaving to come to Ipswich either. So what a job Mark Ashton did to get him in. He's my number one signing of this transfer window, the last one. And I think it's a player we really, really need as well, because I think Evans and Harper are really good players. They could maybe be a bit too similar. And the last few games, I feel like the midfield has kind of just not been there really. So I think a player like him, with the strength he has, he can really, he's kind of a down. Well, I'm guessing he's kind of a Downs type of player, that defensive midfield player, and you'd think he's better than Downs as well, considering what club he was at and how he's done in the past. So, it's an absolutely fantastic signing, and to persuade him to come down to League One, unbelievable work that Paul Cook and Mark Ashton have done that. I think if Mark Ashton and co weren't there to persuade players would look at Ipswich and think they've had a bad start. Do I really want to join them in League One? But to sell the vision that they have to get a player of his quality in is, absolutely amazing. And I'm lost for words with this signing. I really am.
I am as well, because I wasn't expecting to see him in the last 2 hours, because usually last 2 hours it goes all a bit quiet, but they pulled off their magic. To answer your question, Middlesbrough finished 10th last season. Okay. And also, as well, I forgot to mention, he's actually worked with Paul Cook at Chesterfield. So he's actually worked with him twice. So Paul Cook has sort of brought him along wherever he's gone. But the transfer window is now shut. 19 in, 23 out. I think we can say, Dan, this has actually been, a very eventful transfer window. I think the most eventful I've seen it's just been a transfer window for my lifetime. I think in the club's lifetime, they've never seen so much change come through. But the signings Town have made have been very good. But what do you sort of rate the transfer window out of 10? What do you think? Because Mark Ashton here has sort of said about, he wants to bring 4 or 5 players in here. He brought more than 4 or 5 players in at some points, 19 in the total. But fans are sort of saying they're trying to buy the lead, they're buying League One and all this. thing that fans saying they should be fined for financial fair play, as one Pompey fan once said. Don't know where he's disappeared actually now. I guess he's got a bit quiet. I'm not really too sure.
Yeah.
Maybe he got his midfielder he wanted from Wales. But yeah, what would you think? What do you think to Town's season? Town's transfer window successful?
I mean, absolutely. I remember you asking me this question last year and to rate the transfer window last year, and I seem to remember thinking that we had a decent one. I can't remember exactly what rating I gave it actually. But,
I want to say you gave it a 7 or 8.
That makes me sad. That does.
I think you did. I think you actually did because we kept. I think because Down stayed at that point.
Right.
And
Okay,
a lot of the bulk was kept. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. This one is 10 out of 10. You can't say that it isn't. If I could give it more, I would.
I thought it's going to go 19 out of 10.
19 out of 10, whatever.
Hey.
Just the highest. It's been unbelievable. It really has. It's been such an exciting transfer window. Nothing I've ever witnessed before at my club, and it was definitely needed, wasn't it? I think a lot of fans from other clubs, as you said, they make comments and stuff, but they don't realise that we got rid of 23 players. We needed that overhaul. And I think Mark Ashton and Koa, I think they're experienced enough and know how to do that in financial fair play rules, don't they? So I'm not going to be worried about that. I know we spent quite a bit, and it's not loads, is it? But we spent a little bit, and I'm sure wages are quite high. But stuff like that doesn't matter to me when the quality of players we've brought in and the team we have now. I know we sit 21st in League One, but for me, this team's better than what we had last year. So yeah, I don't think anyone could really disagree with this transfer window being a 10 out of 10 because it's been exciting. It's just been great.
Yes, it has been very good. Now the window's over. Town are not playing this week, so we don't need to do a preview. Actually, the game against Wickham has been cancelled due to international call-ups. Only
I don't know who.
Yeah, I don't know who, because there's McKay Bond's supposed to be away, but he's not now, I don't think. And then,
I think it was Wickham, wasn't it, that cancelled it. So
we don't know
who. I don't know who from Wickham is.
Well, Town have got a week off. That's the main thing. And the next game will be against Bolton, which is next Saturday, which we will preview for you next week when that happens. But that is everything for Ipswich Town this week. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at the Premier League game week number 3. We've seen a dramatic start to the season, some dramatic matches before the international break. One team having a perfect start, 2 title contenders clash, and one team in an awful lot of trouble after a very bad start. We'll be back right after this.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on to talking about the Premier League this week, I better mention the social medias. Twitter is at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Pitch. YouTube and Mixcloud both at Pitchside Talk. And don't worry if you missed anything from today's show. Us talking about Ipswich Town, talking about that transfer window, talking about the last game against Wimbledon. I seem to think it's Wickham, but it's actually Wimbledon. So it is Wimbledon. Don't worry, it'll be up 6 p.m. on YouTube and Mixcloud for listening back. So you missed back to whatever part you missed this week if you missed it on IO Radio. Now, the Premier League game week number 3. We've had an absolutely dramatic start to the Premier League, but this week in this match week was dramatic. Another one before the international break, as we saw 2 title contenders clash and one team in an awful lot of trouble after a very poor start. So here are your results for match day 3. So it ended 5-0 to Man City in the lunchtime game against Arsenal. Villa drew 1-1 with Brentford. Brighton, they lost a 100 winning % start against Everton, a 2-0 loss there. Newcastle draw 2-2 with Southampton. Norwich lost 2-1 to Leicester. That pleased Dan as always. Crystal Palace draw 2-2 with West Ham, and Liverpool and Chelsea drawed 1-1. And then Sunday, Burnley, they held back to a 1-1 draw with Leeds. Tottenham continued their 100% winning start with a 1-0 win over Watford, and Manchester United won 1-0 against Wolves. Wow. Arsenal. Now we have to start at one place only. Arsenal. They have made their worst start to a league season since the first time since 1954, losing all of their 3 first opening games as they sit rock bottom after being outplayed by Manchester City in the first half. Dan, Arsenal are living in an absolute nightmare here, losing to Brentford, to Chelsea, to Manchester City, the most dismissals in the Premier League in the last 2 seasons, 11. I think Granit Xhaka's got probably all of them at this rate. You got another one on Saturday. Key players returning, not making a mark whatsoever. They're absolutely quiet, playing musical statues at the back in their defence. Problems on and off the pitch with players. The fans not very happy, wanting massive change in the management structure and key members at the club. Ownership, we have to remember, Daniel Ek tried to buy the club. That didn't go through. Also technical directors as well. But this is an absolute horror show to watch. And even in the transfer window, it's not going well for them. They're signing players that clubs don't really want and playing over the value for them. And some of their players don't even want to be there. That's the big thing as well. But for Mikel Arteta, he's got to turn things around quickly. If not, it's going to be Arteta out, isn't it?
I mean, you'd bet on it, wouldn't you? Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare at Arsenal at the moment. And I think it's just when you look at their transfer window they've had, obviously bringing Ben White in, I think he's a good player, but he's struggled at the start, hasn't he? Been very poor. They've brought Odegaard in as well, or back to Arsenal, who could be a decent player, but did he really impress last season? Not really, I'd say. And the other signings they've made, to me, just look like youngsters maybe that have come through. The Japanese player, he could go straight into the side maybe, but for me, this transfer window has just been poor from Arsenal, and they've spent a lot of money on players that are not gonna. Yeah, they've spent the most money in the Premier League on players that so far have not really shown anything. So yeah, I understand the fans' frustrations because it's been so poor, so lackluster. They just don't look interested, and to sit bottom of the league, not scored a single goal. It's. I couldn't imagine Arsenal being there. It's just so weird to see them there, really. But yeah, it's not going to be long if Arteta's on a shoestring now, isn't he? It's not going to be long until he's gone, I'd say. Because with the way they're playing, I don't think they're going to go down, as the joke around Twitter at the moment is. But they're not going to be anywhere this season, are they? So I think Arteta will be sacked this season. Whether it will be early on this season, it'll be an interesting to see whether they'll trust him a little bit longer. But if I was the owners of Arsenal, I wouldn't personally. But what do I know? I'm just a fan who's looking in.
Well, you can't remember the next game against Norwich, so if they don't win that could be all over. But I have to ask you one big question from Arsenal: who's going to win the goal of the month contender for August? Because nobody's scored any goals. Who's gonna win it? It's gonna be a training goal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be a training goal. Yeah, that's just unbelievable that scoring is no goals at all. It's awful, isn't it? And it's just not what you really. Oh, it's just it's just terrible, and that's all you can really say about it, isn't it? That Arteta's not. He hasn't got long, in my opinion.
Maybe not. Maybe he might be leading the race for the sack race. We do not know. But 2 of the main title contenders clashed the last Saturday in a high-intensity match at Anfield, which ended 1-1 between Chelsea and Liverpool, which saw, a very dramatic end, really, and a dramatic end to the first half, At Chelsea, they frustrated Liverpool for the whole game in a fast-furious game, but they saw Reece James get sent off for a handball, which led to Liverpool's equaliser in the first half. And very much mixed emotions here for both sides. Chelsea happy with the point overall. Getting a point at Anfield these days is an unreal result. Even a fantastic result could be a lot for their title race. But for Liverpool here, a big missed opportunity not to get 3 points against a 10-man Chelsea. Made the best to start, conceded quite a bit of a sloppy goal. But for them, this would be more, they'll be more frustrated with this result getting away from them.
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that your opposition goes down to 10 men, it's the biggest opportunity, isn't it? In my opinion, it shouldn't have been a red card. But that's how football goes, isn't it? So you need to play what opposition is in front of you. So it's going to be I think Liverpool look at this and think that's a missed opportunity. It's good to see that these two are so even so early on, because I think could them two teams be up there towards the end of the season? Hopefully it's going to be a good season this year and it will be close at the top. So yeah, let's wait and see. But yeah, I think Liverpool will, I know it's early days, but they'll look back at that and think that was probably a unfortunate result for them. Then they should have done better. I think both teams can be confident for this season. I think the fact that, I think for Liverpool, really the difference that Virgil van Dijk makes to that team is clear to see, isn't it? It's unbelievable to see. And I think that the fact that he's back as well for this season is going to bring confidence into the rest of the side. And for Chelsea, they've brought in players that are really going to improve them. And I think they'll be really confident for this season as well. So, yeah, it's good to see a good game like this. And Liverpool probably going away from it, unfortunate, but Chelsea probably happy with a point in the end. And let's see how they go for the rest of the season.
Yes, we'll see how it goes. It's good to see the two title contenders clash very early on. Gives you an early indication what the season holds, and it's going to be a perfect one. And we're going to actually have a now look at the Premier League table from match week 3, so starting from bottom to top. So bottom is Arsenal, from Norwich, from Wolves in the relegation zone. Then it's Newcastle, Burnley, Leeds, Palace, Southampton, Watford, Aston Villa, Brentford. Your bottom half of the table. Then from 9th to 1st is Leicester, Brighton, and Man City, Everton, and Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United, West Ham, and Spurs, who have continued their 100% winning start. 9 out of 9 so far. Let's see if they can keep it up. And when we come back, I think, Dan, touch wood, we're going to have enough time here for a football roundup. Yay.
Right.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Hello, and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on iRadios, Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan, as always. Now, before we move on to talk, well, actually doing a quick football roundup this week, actually. I've been mentioned social media, Twitter, it's actually at Pitchside Talk. Instagram is at Talk_Bitch, YouTube, Mixcloud, both at Pitchside Talk. And if you missed from anything from today's show, I was talking about Ipswich Town, the season so far, the transfer window before it shut, and also the Premier League. Do not worry, it'll be up in a few minutes' time, 6 p.m. on a Friday on the YouTube Mixcloud. It'll all be there for you to listen back to. Now, Dan, finally, a football roundup. We've not done this in weeks. And we've finally got to a football roundup. Hooray! Finally, party poppers go off everywhere. And I'm going to start off with some news this week that Tottenham have signed a right back, somebody called Emerson Royal, for Barcelona for 30 million euros. Nothing too special there, but this is a crazy story, actually, because on the 2nd of August, he joined Barcelona, funny enough, for 12 million euros. He's played all 3 games from so far in the La Liga. And on the 31st of August, he went to Tottenham for 13 million on a 5-year deal. So Barcelona pulled an absolute blinder, got some more money for this player, and now not got less of a debt for him. So well done, Barcelona. That was my story. What about you? What have you got for us this week?
Well, I think it's the obvious one, isn't it? The main story of this transfer window. Cristiano Ronaldo. I guess. But Cristiano Ronaldo. He's back home, isn't he? He's back at Manchester United. It was kind of a. I'd say it was unexpected, because it looked for so long that he was gonna join Manchester City. We saw things online of Man United fans. I saw someone burning their Ronaldo Man United shirt, but no, he wasn't going to join City, was he? He's back at Man United, and yeah. He's going to do well there, isn't he? He's back to home. What I can't remember what the contract was. Was it?
2 years plus a 12-month extension. So they've done an Ipswich Town here. They've thought cleverly that 12-month options would be
for
activated.
a 36-year-old. That's quite a good deal, isn't it? 15 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, 15 million. They sold Dan James for 30. So
pretty good business.
Well, I tell you, I wouldn't want to know what they're paying him. But yeah, he's back to where he belongs, and he dedicates this one to Sir Alex Ferguson. I heard.
Yeah. I think he got persuaded by him, didn't he, to go back to United? Don't go to City.
We don't want another billboard, please. We don't want a billboard. But yeah, that's basically everything for the show this week. We've hit the end. The referee's about to blow for full time. Dan, I want to thank you very much, as always, for joining me. Same time next week, as always. Fridays, 5 p.m. We'll see you. Yeah, good one. We'll be talking about England. I know England have played against Hungary, but we ain't going to spoil the result. You can look for that yourself. Or you can listen to us next week when we'll actually review both of their games. So I think they're playing... they're playing Hungary and...
Andorra, I think.
Andorra, yeah, that's the other team. I couldn't think. I could see the flag and I thought, I don't know what it is. I know it's a Wembley and all that, but yeah. Yeah, and then we'll be talking about what other news is in there. Probably be talking about Ipswich Town, because Ipswich Town will always be in the news, and they will be playing against Bolton Wanderers, their first game back for the pre-season. So we'll be sort of talking about that game and how they could play that game and what could possibly happen. So I've been George. He's been Dan. We'll see you next week, and ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.